So that is my plan, to enable Canada to become the blockchain and crypto capital of the world.
Breaking news. So Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, and who has been very openly anti-crypto, just stepped down and put in his resignation as Prime Minister for Canada.
So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
Now, the reason why this is so massive for crypto is because Trudeau was anti-crypto and Poilievre is pro-crypto. Check out this of Justin Trudeau mocking Poilievre, and now Poilievre, laughing, I bet, behind the scenes.
Plan to make people mad and amplify and reflect back that anger. We haven't really seen a lot of concrete proposals from Mr. Poilievre. I mean, he did make one. That's not fair. You're right. He had one great opportunity for people to opt out of inflation. He recommended this last spring. You can opt out of inflation if you invest your money in Bitcoin. Yeah. No. He stayed up late, watched all sorts of YouTube videos, and came to that conclusion. He said that himself. Buy Bitcoin, opt out of inflation.
Now, since that video of Justin trying to hurt Poilievre, you can see that Bitcoin has risen 135% since when he spoke about crypto. Now, check out this video, and this is really important about his position on crypto, what he thinks about it, and how is he going to implement this in Canada.
Something happened in 1971. What the happened? Well, one thing happened in 1971. The American government started spending out of control on warfare and welfare, right? You had the Vietnam War, you had a massive expansion of the state, and as a result, the Americans started running these huge deficits, and the countries of the world started to say the Americans are never going to be, they don't have enough gold in the vault, so that if we exchange our dollars, we'll ever get that gold ounce we were promised. And so one day Nixon went out, and Tricky Dick, and he said, we're closing the gold window, breaking the link temporarily with gold, right? And they started printing cash like crazy. And what happened? Inflation started to run rampant. The rich got richer because all their assets inflated in value, but the working people got screwed as their wages devalued. The gap between rich and poor, which had been shrinking, started suddenly to expand. American society started to become more divided. Now, of course, both Republicans and Democrats loved it. Republicans because it inflated Wall Street, and Democrats because it inflated Washington. Big government and big business loved the idea of all of this inflation. It was good for them, right? So Pierre Elliott Trudeau was Prime Minister in Canada, and he looked down at all the divisions and all the inflation and all the suffering, and he said, let's have some of that up here. And he started printing money. What happened? They multiplied the money supply, and by early 1980s, we had record inflation of 12% in Canada. 12%, forcing up the cost of living, and then forcing up interest rates to almost 20% to counter that inflation, right? And it took until the mid-1980s when Brian Mulroney at least pegged our dollar to the cost of a basket of goods, and we wrestled inflation down to under 2%. And that stayed in place for about 25 years, and we rebuilt. The middle class was again on the rise. It wasn't perfect. It was not perfect, but it was a lot better than we had had in the early 1980s. Fast forward to the present. In 2008, we saw loose financial policies that flushed the banking system with easy cash and caused a massive collapse in the banking system to force people to think twice. People stood up against the wealthy 1% who had benefited. All the bankers who had caused this crisis, along with the bureaucrats and the politicians in Washington, they got off scot-free. So a pseudonymous programmer called Satoshi Nakamoto created a system, a protocol of direct person-to-person, peer-to-peer cash payments with no requirement for a financial intermediary whatsoever. And to get around the easy cash, the easy money policies that had caused these bubbles to inflate and burst, he programmed it so that there could never be more than 21 million of these units of account. And as a result, people started to adopt it as an alternative to the fiat system. Over the last several years, we've seen more and more money printing by politicians, again, south of the border. They started it with quantitative easing, right? Another fancy word for easy money printing. And what did this Trudeau do? He looked down and said, let's have some of that up here, just like his dad. And what have we got? They doubled our housing prices. They forced our young people to live in their parents' basements until their early 30s. They priced single mothers out of nutritious food. They prevented our working people from being able to go for a hunting or fishing trip on the weekend because they can't afford to gas up their car. They call it just inflation, right? Just inflation. And people are standing up and fighting back against that. They want to take back control of their money. So that means that we need to go back to a hard money system that keeps inflation low, stop the unnecessary spending by canceling the $100 billion of extra spending Trudeau wants to pile on. Get rid of wasteful spending like the infrastructure bank, defund the CBC to save $1 billion.
Now, this is the type of leadership that I would like in my country. Having somebody that has done their homework, understands the technology and the demand that Canadians want. This is massive for our future.
This is what I'm here to announce today. We also need to give people the freedom to choose other money. Yeah. The government is going to abuse our cash. We should have the right to opt to use other higher quality cash. So one, what does that mean? One, we need to reject a China-style ban on Bitcoin. Because we know that why China's doing it. They want to crack down on the liberties of their people, and they know that when people can control their own money, they can protect their own freedom. So we must keep cryptocurrencies legal. Two, we need to bring together the provinces and the federal government to streamline and simplify the regulations to have consistent rules across provinces so that blockchain companies can operate in Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta, and other provinces at the same time without being confronted with a cobweb of regulations that are preventing people like Ali from expanding his business and using more crypto. And three, we need to have a simple system that allows our people to understand what the tax rules are. Because right now, when you dispose of your Bitcoin in order to buy a product, you have to pay a capital gain. We need to simplify that as well. So that is my plan, to enable Canada to become the blockchain and crypto capital of the world. What this is, yes, you're going to applaud that if you want. Blockchain is now being used for all kinds of other applications. The Ethereum system is allowing people to have smart self-executing contracts, decentralized finance, so that people can raise money or get insurance without going through big, powerful multinational corporations in order to do it. Non-fungible tokens, which will give you the ability to claim title over things both in the virtual world and in the tangible world without having to spend all your money on legal bills, and to enforce those contracts automatically and organically through a blockchain that is irreversible and uncensorable. All of these innovations should flourish here in Canada, not be shoved off into other parts of the world. We need to get rid of the red tape, simplify the rules, and treat like things like. If an asset on the blockchain behaves like a security, the law should treat it like a security. If it behaves like a currency, the law should treat it like a currency. If it behaves like a commodity, it should be treated in law as a commodity. It's very simple, folks. Simple rules across time and across asset classes should allow this sector to explode in a free market system that lets everybody voluntarily choose what's best for them. This is the simple purpose of my campaign. The simple purpose is this. I want to make Canada the freest country on earth, to give you back control of your life. That's why I'm here. And what does it mean in this context? I want to give people, take control of money away from politicians and bankers and give it back to the people.
So Polymarket actually predicts with an 87% chance that Pierre is going to be our next Prime Minister. This is an amazing feat for Canada. You should see what Trump's response to Trudeau's resignation was. It's absolutely hilarious. So, I don't know if you've seen in the media in the past, but he jokes about Canada being the 51st state. Now, he did make a tweet from his Truth Social saying many people in Canada love being the 51st state. The United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. If Canada merged with the US, there would be no tariffs, taxes would go way down, and they would be totally secure from the threat of Russia and Chinese ships that are constantly surrounding them. I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't even mind, to be honest with you. Sign me up. Now, we can't forget what Trudeau did while he was Prime Minister. Do you remember when there was the trucker convoy? He actually sanctioned crypto accounts. So, this is to remember, not your keys, not your crypto. Because the Ontario Provincial Police and Royal Canadian Mounted Police ordered all regulated financial firms to cease facilitating any transactions from 34 crypto wallets tied to funding the trucker-led protests in Canada. That is absolutely insane. So what does all of this mean for crypto? Well, basically, we're gonna get more regulation and oversight on everything. And that's a good thing because now companies can have, trajectories where they know their regulations that they're allowed and not allowed, so they can comply and be able to sustain business in Canada. Also, we still see our Bitcoin ETFs inflows coming in. It just keeps going in. BlackRock's buying, Michael Saylor's buying, and other countries are having adoption into crypto. Now, one of the other awesome pieces of news is BlackRock now says to their investors, a 2% Bitcoin allocation is reasonable. This is absolutely massive. BlackRock is one of the biggest companies in the entire world. They own trillions of dollars of every single industry, basically. So for them to say, hey, look, you need a Bitcoin allocation, this is starting the industrial adoption of crypto, and the country's adoption of crypto is coming. So down in the comments, do you guys think that Pierre will have a crypto reserve similar to what President Trump has declared? Well, we won't know yet because his inauguration is in 14 days. And Pierre, if we get our next voting for Prime Minister will be in October of 2025, but they could call for it early. So all of this stacked up, I think this year is going to be absolutely insane for crypto. There's just so many bullish things for crypto. And in his campaigning, I assume that he's going to be using his Bitcoin position and stance as a marketing tactic as well, pushing up the hype of crypto into 2025. So that's all I got for you today. If you want to join a free Discord group where I put all of my alerts, plays, and things like that inside, click the link down below. And remember to like and subscribe.